The platform is here for you. You can download the app at the App Store, Google Store, and you can become, for $3 a week, if you buy an annual subscription, you can become a Platform Plus member. So please do that. That is the way that you fight the stupidity that we saw from John Campbell over the weekend. Apparently a rubbish piece from Simon Wilson in the Herald, and a gender lynch mob getting panties in a bunch on News Hub last night. And what she didn't cover, as some texters pointed out, was the joy and the excitement of a bunch of new people forming a new government. But boy, and look, I was talking to someone who was getting sworn in at Government House yesterday, and they rather wryly said we have to go up to the big house and get our prefect's badges. There is a lot of pomp and circumstance. We talked to Jerry Brownlee yesterday. He said, I can't officially say I'm speaker yet. He's got to be dragged from his chair, kicking and screaming. So how does all this work? Graeme Edgeler, I hope I got that right or I'm in trouble. Graeme Edgeler, lawyer, joins us now. He's our expert on things constitutional, electoral law. Graeme, how are you? Did I get it right?
You did. Thank you very much, and nice to be here, Sean.
Nice to have you with us again, Graeme. Graeme, it seems to me there are a lot of photo ops now at the moment, and a lot of people signing bits of bloody paper. How prescriptive is this process of getting a new government going?
It's relatively prescriptive. Everyone, we've got the Constitution Act, and everyone has to swear not one but two oaths, one to New Zealand and one about the job they're actually going to be doing. And they're all going to have to do something very similar next week when they're sworn in or affirmed in as MPs. Right.
And now just explain for the uninitiated. So there are different branches here. There is the Parliament, which has all the MPs in it, but then there's the executive. Well, the beehive, is that the government? Which is the government, the Parliament or the executive, of the two of them together?
Can mean a couple of different things, government.
Yep.
If someone's talking about the government, generally what they mean is the executive, which is the Prime Minister and the ministers. But, we do also talk about there are three branches of government, the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. And sort of, it can mean both things. And so if someone's complaining about the government getting them down or something like that, it could be Parliament passing a law. But, Christopher Luxon is now, leads the government, and the government he leads is the executive part.
And that, so that's the government or that executive has a majority of the seats in the legislature and the Parliament, so they can make the legislation, right?
Yes.
Right, okay. Look, we spoke to Jerry Brownlee, soon-to-be Speaker Jerry Brownlee, even though we couldn't officially say that. What position does he play in this new role? Is he part of the executive, or is he just the guy who runs the Parliament, that's the legislature?
He is the guy who will preside over the legislature. There are a couple, something he will have. He won't turn up to cabinet or anything like that. He exercises some sort of executive-like powers, as effectively the minister for Parliament. There's sort of, one thing, the way sort of the budget process works is each budget line, health, education, defence, has a minister who's in charge of it. And there's a budget line for Parliament. The minister who is technically in charge of the budget line for Parliament, I think, is the Speaker. But that's it's a very sort of esoteric, just the way we sort of do the funding. Jerry Brownlee is not part of the government.
Right, okay.
He's part of the party. He's a part of the political party which forms the government, certainly. He's not leaving the National Party over the next 3 years. He... And
does he still go to caucus, which is the meeting of the national MPs?
He can. I'm not sure they always do. My understanding is that maybe, say, Trevor Mallard didn't. Or at least didn't unless it was a special occasion. If this person's retiring this week and, we're having a cake to say goodbye or something, probably turns up for something like that.
Right. So yesterday the executive got sworn in and took the oaths at Government House, right?
Yes. That's
okay,
right.
And we delivered, Luxon produced this letter to the Cindy Kero saying, I can do this. So what's the next thing that happens?
I'm sure. I'm sure they're doing things today. They're writing, laws ready to, or drafting laws ready to ask Parliament to do them. But the next sort of formal thing that happens, which we'll actually get to see the results of, is MPs will be sworn in. So what was called the Commission Opening of Parliament.
And that's what, next Tuesday that starts?
I think that's when they've said it is. I haven't actually double-checked.
That seems a long time. It seems they could have just got straight into that, to be honest, Graeme. And there's this whole thing with...
They could have.
Yeah, this whole thing, and it sounds like a porn movie with Black Rod and stuff, isn't there, and people knocking on doors?
That's the state opening.
Oh, God, well, is the state opening different than just swearing in the MPs? When does that happen, the state opening?
State opening's the following day. So the commission opening is swearing in MPs and the election of the Speaker, and then once the Speaker is elected, the Speaker will, Parliament or the House will adjourn for the day. The Speaker will head off to the Government House like the ministers did yesterday. The Speaker will sort of tell the Governor-General a few things. I'm here to stand up for Parliament, and the Governor-General will say, Parliament's made an excellent choice in Speaker. The following day, Parliament's going to go back and sit. The Speaker's going to stand up at the start of Parliament and say, yesterday I attended the Governor-General with 2 or 3 other members of Parliament.
She said we're good to go. Let's crack into it.
And at that point, Black Rod will come over and knock on the door and say, the Governor-General is sitting in the room next door, would like to give you a speech to tell her why she summoned to Parliament at all, which is basically the government's
speech from
policy program for the next 3 years or so. The things why she summoned them to do, pass laws to lower taxes or pass laws to
stop people speaking to Rio in government departments. That's why we call the Parliament.
Something like that.
Yeah. So, Graeme, and who writes that speech? Because it's not the Governor-General, is it? It's not, and it's not King Charles III.
It is. No, she will be instructed to it. There will be everything, basically, the Governor-General says in this is written by the Prime Minister, someone working for the Prime Minister, and he will sign a letter saying, give this speech, and then she'll come along and read it.
God, it'd be much easier to do a Facebook post, wouldn't it? Graeme, here's a good question from one of our listeners. Is all this process, or would it be repeated for a returning government? Or is it different for a new government?
It would be repeated. It would be repeated for a returning government. Yep, they all head out and swear in again. They all get sworn in as MPs, and we have a new speech from the throne.
Wow.
We don't anymore. We used to have, sometimes a couple of speeches from the throne over the course of a Parliament. We stopped doing that. They do that in the UK still. Parliament has sessions, and each session starts with a speech from the throne. And, so sort of we got rid of that back in the 80s, I think.